Hello, and welcome to the Quest for Games. I'm Jerry, and in this video, I'm going to do a how to play of the 1 to 5 player game Earth. Earth, the continuing journey of an island developer trying to get flora on their island to match what the fauna wants it to be, and dealing with the ecosystem and weather, all in an effort to try to make the best island. So what does that really mean? Earth is a engine builder in a tableau form. You'll have a 4x4 grid of cards. That's your tableau. You'll have an island that's card that says this is the special things that your island has or can do. There's flora cards that are in your tableau. There's fauna or animal type cards that are your victory goals, things that you're trying to achieve. There are some ecosystem cards that do some of the same thing. So here comes the obligatory norm. My channel is not sponsored. This game was crowdfunded. I paid for it with my own money. The opinions that you'll hear are mine and mine alone. No one is influencing these opinions other than me and maybe my friends. So with that said, let's get this to the table and start to teach. Okay, let's start with the setup. There's a few things that I've done here to try to make this easier for it to be seen on camera, but the second player is here. I'm going to set up for a 2-player game. The second player's configuration or setup is over here, and you can't see most of it, but that's okay. We're going to focus on this right now in the setup. We're going to focus on the primary player's board and do the setup of that and the common board. First thing we need to talk about is, are we setting up for a standard or advanced game, or are we setting up for a beginner game? You will see this little sprout in the center of the board for the beginner's game. You also notice that each one of the values are the same, and you only have 4 top cards that you're going to put out, as opposed to on the standard game, you have these 2 ecosystem cards that you'll be putting out. I'm going to, because this is what the rules suggest, set up for the beginning game or your first game, and then I'll talk about what has to be done to set up for a more advanced game. So we're going to be using this side of the board. Pass out a player board to each player. So I'm setting up for a 2-player game, so I've got 2 player boards out here. Be careful when you're setting the player boards out and which side you're setting the boards out on. This is the standard side, but there is a second side to a lot of these boards that if you look at like these 2, you'll see that there's this little flower in the middle of the board. This is the setup for the solo game. And I'm not going to talk about how you do the solo game in this video. And on the back side of this board, you'll see that it looks a little different. This is for the team game. Team 1 on this side, team 2 on this side. Just make sure you've got the right side out on your player boards. When you set your player board down, make sure you have enough space on one side of it to build a 4x4 grid. That's your island, and it's going to be 4x4 cards. We have to have a central supply of all of the materials. So I have them in these, and they're going to be off camera. But we have soil, we have sprouts, and these are the crowd-funded resources. So yours may not look like that. These are going to be the same. This is growth. And these are the caps for the growth. We'll talk about what you do with these things when we're doing gameplay. And I had said that those are the Kickstarter materials. That's what your soil looks like in the retail version. That's what a sprout looks like, the green cubes. Here's my Kickstarted wooden token for player leaves, and there's the cardboard chit for the player leaf. So this is what you'll get in if you get a regular retail version, you'll be getting this. I believe you can still buy what they call the Kickstarter upgrade, if you go to their website, or maybe other places will be offering it, which will give you the wooden pieces. You have to shuffle this massive deck of earth cards, and I'll go over the anatomy of one of these cards in a little bit. But shuffle these cards up. You can have multiple piles of cards, or you can try to keep just one pile of cards. So shuffle them up and put them somewhere where they're accessible to all players, which they're barely on camera for me right now. These cards that have the little paw symbol on them are your fauna cards. We have to shuffle this deck of cards up, and then we're going to randomly pick 4 to put out onto this board. And you should randomly either decide if you're going to take the side that's up, or flip the cards over. These cards are double-sided. They'll have something different on each side. But you put out 4 cards onto this common board. Those are your 4 fauna gold cards. And we'll talk about those after setup during rule play. And just so that I cover it, if we were not playing the beginning game, we were playing a standard game, there's these ecosystem cards, and we will shuffle up the ecosystem cards the same way. There's 2 sides to this also. And on the other side of this board, we will have placed these same 4 cards into their spaces on this board. And then we will pick 2 of the ecosystem, and you can see they have the little sun, mountain, and water on them, which matches the space on the board. We will put 2 of those into their spaces, which gives us more goals to try to reach. So now we're going to move on to setting up our player boards. First thing we have to do is get an island card. So we shuffle these cards that have the island symbol on the top corner here. We'll shuffle them up, and in a beginner game, based on the rules, each person is dealt 1 island card, and then they look at the island card, and it's double-sided, so they decide which side they want to be on. In an advanced or standard game, you would deal 2 island cards to each player, and they would look at the 2 cards and choose which one do I want. Again, they're all double-sided, but they choose which one do I want, and that's the one that I'm going to play with. I do know, and I've done this myself, that sometimes I will just deal the 2 cards out, even in a beginner game, because it gives you more choices to try to decide what you want to do. I think the intention here is only 1 card, less choices. I'm just trying to learn how to play the game, right? So that's up to you. The official rules say deal 1 to each player, and they pick which side they want them to be on. And we'll talk about picking when we talk about the rules. So then we take these climate cards, and they have a little thermometer on them. And you do the same thing. We shuffle these up, and we deal 1 to each player. Again, these cards are 2-sided, so you will choose which side you want to use, maybe which side matches your island best. We'll talk about that when we get into the rules. If you're playing a standard or advanced game, when we dealt the ecosystem cards to the main board, the common board, we would have also dealt 2 to each player, and they will put whichever one they choose, again, double-sided, onto their ecosystem spot on their board. So you'll take your 5 leaf tokens, and you'll put 1 on each one of these 4 spots, and 1 at the top of your board, and that is set up. There'll be more things we wind up doing at the beginning of gameplay, but let's move on to gameplay. Okay, for gameplay, the first thing we're going to have to look at is our island and our climate card, because we have to decide which side we want to use to play the game. So let's go over the anatomy of each of these cards. This island card, you can see it's Jamaica. The habitats that it likes is sunny and wet. You start with 8 victory points. That's what the 8 leaf is. This black box down here tells you what your starting resources are. So for this particular side of the card, we start with 6 cards. We have to compost or discard 3 of those, and I'll show you what that is. And we start with 5 soil. And then their ability is you get to draw 1 card for each event, which I'll have to explain what events and all that stuff are, but you get to draw 1 card every time you play an event. So on the other side of this card, you can see that this one is wet and now it's cold, is its habitats. It's only worth 2 victory points to start out, but you get 8 cards in hand in the beginning, and then you have to compost 3 of them, and you get 8 soil. And now cards that are in the wet, that are wet cards, cost me 1 less soil, but cannot be less than 0. So I think I like this side of it. So we're going to take this side for the island. The climate cards are made up pretty much the same way. This one's a hot summer continental climate. Its habitats are wet and cold, which matches our island pretty well. You get 2 victory points. And now every time you take the red action, you get 2 soil when you choose the red action. On the other side of this one, it's a desert, which is sunny and mountainous. Those are its habitats. You get 3 victory points for this side, and you can spend 1 growth, which I have to explain what that is. When yellow is played, you can spend 1 growth and get 2 soil. That's what this one's special ability is. I think this side matches what we have better, so we're going to put this side in. So we've now chosen the 2 cards that we're going to use. Based on those 2 cards, if you remember, I get to draw 8 cards. So I get the 8 cards, and I have to compost 3 of those 8 cards. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let me grab my soil. I also get 8 soil. So we get 8 soil, and the soil goes here. And it said right on our card, 8 soil. So the 8 soil goes here. So let's go over these 8 cards that I've got so we can decide which 3 we want to try to discard or put in the compost pile. But to do that, we want to go over what's the anatomy of a card. For these earth cards, there are 3 types of earth cards that you could have. There is this green topped one, which is Flora. There are these that have the lightning symbol on them. Those are events. And then there are these beige ones, and they actually say terrain in here. This is a terrain card. So if you look at these 3 cards, you'll see this one says terrain, this one says event, and this one is the name of a plant. That'll tell you that it's a fauna. So let's go talk deeper about each one of these different cards. This Flora card, it tells you what, up here at the top, it tells you what habitats it's in. It gives you a symbol here that tells you the card type. It's telling you right here that this is how much soil it's going to cost to plant. That is how many victory points this card is worth at the end of the game. Its name. This one happens to have a growth spot on it, and you can see that it has 1 growth spot, so you can grow 1 thing or 1 level. And if you have it maxed out, it's worth 5 victory points at the end, and each growth on it's worth 1. There is 1 spot for a sprout down here. During a yellow action, you get to do 2 growth. During a blue action, you get 2 sprouts. And yeah, I need to explain what all those things are, but let me just go over what the cards are. So they tell what the anatomy of these cards are. So that tells you what happens based on the action you're taking. So that's a fauna card. A terrain card is set up pretty much the same way. It's terrain. It tells you it's terrain right there. It says these are the habitats that it likes. This one is going to cost you 9 to put it down, to play it, 9 soil. It's worth no victory points right now, but it's worth 2 victory points for each card that you've played
that cost 4 or more soil to place. So this one's going to give you victory points at the end of the game. There are also some terrains that will just act as here's a green activity for you, and here's another end game scoring activity for you. This one costs 4, right, and gets you 2 victory points at the end. So here's an event card. The event cards have a lightning bolt, so you can tell it's an event. This hail event costs you no victory points. You can minus yourself 2 sprouts, which are the green cubes, and we'll talk about how we get those in a little bit. And you would be able to compost 5 cards. We have to be very careful about what that symbol means. That's saying compost 5 cards from the deck. You'll see at the bottom of your player board here, there's a thing that shows that compost symbol with cards in the middle. That says I'm composting cards from the deck, the main deck here. I'm not composting them from my hand. This one with the hand symbol, it shows the hand in it. That means I'm composting cards from my hand. So in this case, it's composting 5 cards from the main deck. That one's a nice one. It doesn't cost you any victory points at the end of the game. Here's one that will cost you 4 victory points at the end of the game. And a lot of the events do cost you victory points at the end of the game. Okay, so that's the 3 types of cards. I do want to show one more of the Flora cards just so that we can make sure we've covered everything. This one's got 3 colors at the bottom of it. It has the same things, how much soil, 5, victory points, growth, sprouts, but this one has 3 colors at the bottom of it. That means you can do this activity for any one of these 3 if you're doing this activity for any one of these 3. Okay, so let's talk about which cards we want to compost. Generally, they suggest that for your first game, you keep the ones that match your habitats. So we'd want to keep ones that are wet and cold. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure how well that works, but I guess that's a strategy. I will go through here and say, I know this event, which is going to cost me 4 victory points. I don't know right now that I need to use that event, or I'm even going to want that event, and it's going to cost me 4 victory points. So I'm getting rid of that event. So that one goes to be compost. As I look through here, I have one card that's going to cost me 8. These are both 2s. This is a 7 and a 4. So this one that has the victory points for every 2 cards, 2 victory points for every card that cost me more than 4 to place. I think that's going to be a little difficult to do. So, and he's worth 0 to start out. So I think that's another one that I'm going to get rid of, just because I think he's going to be hard to achieve. So that's 2. I need one more that we need to compost. This one's going to cost me 7 to plant, and it wants me to it gets 4 victory points for every empty space in my rows. And it's a beach. I don't know that I want to do that either, because that means I'm going to have blank holes in my tableau. So for right now, I'm going to get rid of that one. So I've composted the 3 that I'm supposed to compost. And so I've finished that setup basically. So this is what my hand looks like right now. We're ready to actually start play. I'm going to make this player first player. So I'm going to give them the first player token, and they will get to choose what activity they're going to do first. And then this player will go. So I've fast forwarded some just so that we can understand what happens when I'm taking my turn. On my turn, I get to choose one of 4 actions. I get to do planting, I get to do composting, I get to do watering, or I get to do growing. And when I do that, my opponent gets to do something too. So let's start with each and do them one at a time. So planting. For planting, I get to play 2 cards into my tableau. Let's look at that. I have these 2 cards that I've decided that I'm going to go plant. This card's going to cost me 2 soil to plant. So I have to take 2 soil from off of my board and put that back. And now I have to decide where I want to plant this one. And this one says that when I take a watering action, I get to do 3 growth on cards in any direction. So I'm going to place this one here. I could shift, no, I can't because I got the 4. Once you start building your grid, you can't shift cards around in the grid. I couldn't say, oh, I don't like this one here, or I don't like this one here, so I'm going to move this one from here to here. You can't do that. If I didn't have this card over here, I would have been able to shift this over and put a card on this side, but I can't move the cards around while I'm placing cards. So I've now placed that card. That cost me 2. So for the second card I place, I'm going to place this card, which is another mushroom. And its ability says that when I do a watering action, I get +1 sprout on any mushroom that's in my row. Well, I have mushrooms in this row, so I'm going to place him here. I have to pay 2 soil to do that. Now the next thing I do is draw 4 cards, and I get to keep one of these 4 cards. Well, I'm not really sure I care about any of these, so I'll just keep this one at random. And these get discarded. Now I get to go run my engine or do my tableau and do all my green actions. I go from left to right and I start working on green actions. Well, this green action says I get to draw a card, so I'm just drawing a card. This green action says I get to compost 2 cards from my hand. It's got that little hand symbol in there. So for this one, I will compost 2 cards from my hand. I don't get to use that. I don't get to do that. Okay, so I've done all the green actions that I can do on my green turn. My opponent, while I was doing that, gets to do somewhat similar. And the suggestion is that they should be putting their leaf card right here to say that's what they're doing right now. They get to play 1 card from their hand into their tableau, and they pay the amount of soil that card needs. And then they get to draw 1 card and put it into their hand. And then they would run their tableau the same way I just ran this tableau. They would run their own tableau and get whatever resources and whatever was supposed to happen based on that. So now let's move on to what would happen if I take the composting action, the orange action. I would gain 5 soil. My opponent gains 2 soil, or anybody else who's playing. Then I can compost 2 cards from the deck. So I take 2 cards off the top of the deck and I put them in the compost pile. My opponent would do the same thing. They get to choose. Either they take 2 soil or they compost 2 cards. They don't get to do both. So now we get to run our orange action. So we're going from left to right across our tableau. So here it says I can remove 1 sprout, one of these green cubes, and I would gain a card. Right now, I'm not sure I want to do that, so I won't. On this one, which is a multicolor, I'm allowed to do the multicolor. It says I can remove 1 sprout and I get a soil back for that. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to remove a sprout and I can remove it off of any card and I got a soil back for it. And that's all that I have in orange for this card. My opponent would be doing the same thing, and then they would run their tableau the same way. So let's move over to watering. For watering, I get, as the person who picked the action, I get 6 sprouts. My opponent gets either 3 sprouts or 3 soil. But we're going for what I'm doing. And I get 2 more soil. So now I have to take these sprouts and I have to find a place to put them. So I'll put 2 on this card, I'll put 2 on this card, I'll put 2 on this card. I have plenty of spaces to put these sprouts out, But if I didn't have enough room to put all the sprouts out, those sprouts would go back to the supply. Now I run my blue actions. This blue action here says I could get rid of one growth and get 2 soil. I don't think I want to do that. Coming over here, it says I can get rid of 1 composted card. So that would go into the discard pile. And I gain a card for doing that. Well, I'll do that. Coming down here, I gain 1 more sprout. So I get another sprout for that. Over here, I can give up a sprout and get another soil because it's multicolored, right? And it will go happen every time. This one says that I will get 3 sprouts on any of the cards that are either in the same row or the same column. So let's put those 3 sprouts onto here. 1, 2, 3. Then I have 1 extra sprout. I'll put it there. That one came from here. Down here, it says I get to grow 1 sprout on each mushroom that's in this column or in this row. And I have, this one's a mushroom, this one's a mushroom. Oh, this one's a mushroom, but he's full. So I can't grow any more sprouts on him. So I lose this sprout because he's full. So that's the watering action. The last action is my growth action. For the growth action, I get to draw 4 cards. I get to grow 2 things. So I get 2 of these to grow. So let's see, where would I want to grow at? Well, we need to talk about these grow things a little bit more again. So let me pull this card over. This spot says I can grow 2 on that spot. And if I have 2 things grown, the first one is a base like this. So the first one would be a base and the second one would be a cap. Doesn't matter what color the cap is, it's my own aesthetics. So that's the way this growth would happen. So let's put this card back where it was. And I have 2 growth to spread around. Well, this card has 2 growth max. So I'm going to get rid of this one and I'm going to cap this guy. And then I have another growth here. I will put that growth on this one. And that's my growth. So now let's go through and start doing the yellow actions in my tableau. So I could get rid of 1 sprout. So let's do that. I'll get rid of this sprout. And I gain 2 soil for doing that. This one says I can add 1 growth to each mushroom in this row. Well, this mushroom's maxed out. This mushroom has no growth. Oh, that's not a mushroom. This mushroom I can put 1 growth on. Well, that mushroom's a single growth. So he's capped right away. And this mushroom's also a single growth. So he's capped right away. Mushrooms in this direction or this direction get that. I don't have mushrooms over here on either side of this. So we come down here. I get to draw 1 card for that yellow. This multicolor, I can still do the same. So let's get rid of 1 sprout and get another soil. This one is not a yellow, not yellow, not yellow. So I'm done with my yellow. My opponent was either able to draw 2 cards or grow 2 things. And then they would run their tableau for all of their yellow cards. That's pretty much how a turn goes. Just to be completely clear and sure, let's say that my opponent on their turn, I did all 4 of these, but it would be bouncing back and forth between the 2. Last turn, let's say the last turn I did do this growth. It'd be my turn again. I could still pick to do the growth again. There's no restrictions that I can't pick the same thing 2 turns in a row. For another example of what can be done, while this player is taking their turn, I'm going to play an event card. And that event card just happens immediately. You can play it during your turn. You can play it during your opponent's turn. You can play it in between turns. You can play it whenever you feel like you want to play it. In this case, I get the -1 growth and I get 2 sprouts for it. And I have to find spaces to put my 2 sprouts. So I'll put my 2 sprouts there. And that was the event card. This event card's actually going to be worth 1 victory point at the end of the game. So it's a good one to play. Some event cards are going to be negative at the end of the game. Like this event card, the Tornado. If I decided to play this, it would cost me 2 at the end of the game, but I could get rid of 2 growth and get 4 soil for that. And I could play that at any time. So let's say I don't have enough soil to play the cards that I wanted to play. I could just play that event right away, get rid of the 2 sprouts, get the 4 soil, and then use that 4 soil to play a card. So that's events. They can happen at any time. I have to go back a little bit. I missed that this card says when I was doing my compost, whenever I choose the red action, it gives me 2 more soil. So when I chose that red action, I should have been able to do this to get me 2 more soil. I don't have anything here other than the fact that my water ones cost 1 less. So this 9 should have only cost me 8. So let's talk about the fauna cards. This fauna card says that if I have 4 trees in my tableau, I get to say that I've achieved that objective. This one says that if I've gotten at least 5 spaces that have brown abilities, I get to take this objective. I have 1, 2, 3 that have brown abilities. So if I get 2 more, I would have the 5 and I'd be able to claim this one. For the tree objective, I only have 2 trees. So I'd have to get 2 more trees. For this one, if I have 4 of my flora cards that are filled with as many sprouts and growth as possible, I can achieve that one. So I have, this one's completely full. This one's not, this one's not, this one's not. So I don't have these, no, he's not. So I don't have any of them that are completely full. If I would have left that growth there, he would have been, so I would have had 2. But I'm trying to get to 4 that are completely full. Let's try to see if we can do that. I'm going to do water. I'll get 6 sprouts and 2 soil. So let me grab the 2 soil, just keep things honest. Now I want to put these sprouts out in places. So I can put a sprout here. Now I have 2 that are completely full of all of the stuff they can have. I'll put 2 here. That's a 3rd one that's completely full. I'll put 2 there. That's a 4th one that's completely full. And I can put him down here, but it doesn't matter. So now I have this card, this card, this card, and this card that is completely full. That's 4 cards that are completely full of the sprouts that they can have and of the growth that they can have. So I would take one of my leaves and I would put it up here on the common board and say, hey, I've just achieved that condition. Now that I've achieved that condition, I don't have to stay there. So we're doing blue. Blue says I can minus 1 growth, so I could take this growth and get 2 soil. And it would be okay because I've already achieved this. So now that I'm not in that condition anymore, it's fine. It doesn't matter. I achieved it once, I get to keep it. So I fast forwarded a little bit again. Player 2 is going to do a planting action. They're going to do their normal stuff. This player will do I get to plant 1 card. So I'm going to play 1 card and pay the 2 soil for playing that 1 card. And now they've finished their tableau. So the game's basically going to be done. But by playing that card, they've now got 4 browns. So they get to put something up here into this brown space. They also were the first one to finish their tableau, so they get to put 1 up here, which gives them 7 victory points. We finish the green stuff, so we run our green engine, gets to draw 1 card, don't really care, gets to compost 2 out of their hand, that's not bad. We'll just throw 2 in there, it doesn't matter. And that's it for green actions that they can take. Because this player was the one that took the final action that caused this card to be played and finished this tableau, the game's over after we run the green. If this player, who was player 1, was the one who took the action that caused this to happen, this card to be played and the tableau to be finished, then there would be 1 more turn for this player because they were first player. So you would go back around and say, okay, everybody gets to take a turn. So if there were 4 players, everybody, if the first player was the one who ended it, everybody else would get another turn until we got back around to the first player to ensure that everybody gets the same number of plays. So now after that, we go into final scoring. I'm zoomed in a little bit so we can help figure out the scoring, but you're supposed to use this victory scoring sheet and go down it to figure out how much each player has. So the first thing we have to do, and that's what this is telling me, is add up the victory points that are on all the cards in my tableau. So we have 41 when we add this all up. We're supposed to look at the event cards, and I only played the one event card, so it's one more victory point. So we're at 42. Then we're supposed to get one for each compost card that we have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 compost cards. So that puts us at 50. Then each sprout, each of these green sprouts gives us 1. So there's 38 there. So that's 92, I think. So then we look at the growths. And this growth is worth 2 because it's got a cap on it. This growth is worth 4 because it's got a cap on it. 22, and this one's worth 1 more, so that's 23. So that's, I should be writing these down. We were at 92, and I just added 23. That's 100, so that's 115. Then if I had any of these environments, I would be adding those in. I have to add in these that have the victory point conditions on them. So this one's worth 3 for every bush. Don't have any bushes in this row, so it's not worth anything. This one's worth 3 for every mushroom. I have 1, 2, 3 mushrooms, so that's 9. And then this one's worth 2 for every water in a continuous line around it, below or above. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4 water, so that's 8. So I'm at 17. This one doesn't give us anything, so that's 17. So that's 132. We're supposed to add in what we got on the fauna board. They got 10, 20, 30 here. So that's 162 plus the 7. So that's 169. My numbers are probably wrong. I got lost. I should have been writing them down on the pad. Let's look at an environment card real quick. This is an environment card. It says you would get 6 victory points for each row that has a different number of sprouts in it. So this one has, nope, I have 2 sprouts and 2 sprouts and 2 sprouts, so that one doesn't count. This one has 3, this one has 5, this one, so that's 1, so I'd get 6 points for that. This one has 0, this one has 3, this one has 5 or 6 and 4, so that's another 6, right? And then this one has 3, and these all have 0, so that's not anything. So I'd get 12 more onto whatever the heck I had if I had this environment card. So that kind of gives you an idea of what an environment card does. But that's how you do the final scoring. Final thoughts for Earth. So let's start with build quality. The build quality, what you're seeing in some of the pieces is my Kickstarter gift pieces. So the sprouts being these wooden sprouts is part of that. The wooden soil is part of that. But I really do like that. And even without that, I do have some problems with the sprouts being a little green piece of cardboard for your sprout board. I don't think it looks as well. I don't think it plays as well, but it's okay from the build quality standpoint. The player boards are nice, thick cardboard. The cards are normal card stock. There is a little bit of a problem that I have with the growths, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it in some of these on the way this camera is set up, but they don't fit on completely well. They wiggle because the bottoms aren't always completely cleared out well enough to make it so that it fits well inside of each other. So sometimes I have to play around to get them so that they'll stack nicely. Other than that, it's very good build quality. Pros and cons of the game. So I guess I'll start with cons. Cons would be that there is a lot of stuff you have to keep track of. I missed while I was doing the teach that my climate card and a lot of times your island card will give you something special that you have to keep track of. For example, this one lets you pay one less for a water. So I should have been focusing more on things that have a water habitat. Those are things that you have to keep track of. Not a major con. I'm just trying to make sure that you understand that there are some things you have to keep track of. I put a card down in the Tableau as I was working with this that I didn't put the corresponding things to get the most value out of it. That happened twice actually in this play in this Tableau. There's two places where I placed the card in a spot where it wasn't its most valued. So there's a little bit of, you have to pay attention to what you're doing. During the teach, I was trying to pay a little bit more attention to what I was trying to say and what I was trying to teach. And so some things slipped. But you do have to kind of focus on what you're doing. I think that's basically the only con that I'd have, and I'm not sure that's a big con because you kind of should be focusing on what you're doing all the time. Pros, I like the fact that when somebody else is taking their turn, I have things to do on my turn. That keeps people interested in the game and keeps people attentive. And so you don't get the person that, oh, it's not my turn, I'm going to lean back and start playing on my phone or looking at my phone, or I'm going to go get up and go do something else and call me when it's my turn. That can't happen or shouldn't be happening in this game because you have something to do on your opponent's turn. And it's the best implementation of that I've seen. I have other games where you have something to do. The example of I get to draw one card or play one card while you're playing two or drawing four. I've seen that in a lot of other games, but the ability to run the tableau, my tableau on your turn because of the action you took is something a lot more than I see in other games. The fact that there's basically in the one box 3 modes of play, and that seems a little odd. It might not seem like it's that much of a pro, but the base game, they take away the environment cards for the beginner game. They take away the environment cards. The scoring board here, everything's the same score. So it doesn't matter when you complete the fauna objective. On the other side of the board, when you're playing the standard or the advanced game, when the first person to do the fauna will get 16 points, then 11, then 8, 6, and 5. It does matter how fast you get your faunas done. Another pro is the way that the engine building works in the game. The cards play off of each other very well. You saw a few where it's like this row, put something in this row or this column or both. And so that makes it so that you're trying to achieve those things, and it gives you goals or gives you direction and when you're trying to play. So it helps you figure out which cards to compost because I'm not going to use those cards or discard or whatever. So I think all of that are pros. There also is a solo mode, and which I've never played, so I'll leave that up to you. I'm going to try it sometime, I hope, but I've never played it. And there's a team mode. I've never played that either. The fact that there's a easy way to get started and learn, and then a standard and an advanced mode, I also see that as a pro. So what is my rating for this game? I'm probably going to give out my first, maybe my second 10, but this game in my mind is a 10. If anybody asks me to play it, I will table it. I will play it. I have that much fun playing the game. I don't win all that often when I'm playing a lot of different people, but I don't care. It's really just that much fun to play, to try to build your little engine and see how you're getting things to go and all the little puzzly parts of it. I just have that much fun playing the game. Is this game for you? Well, you heard some of the pros and cons, but if you're looking for something where you can interact with somebody and you see somebody getting out into the lead and you want to stop them from being able to go and breaking away from you, there's nothing in this game that'll let you do that. You can't stop somebody, you can't interact, you can't play a card that does something to their tableau, take something away from them.
The only thing you can do is try to be better and try to get more and build your engine better and hope that the final score makes it so that even though it looked like they were further away, they weren't as far away as you thought. So if that doesn't appeal to you, that you have no control over what other people are doing, then this game's probably not for you. And I'm saying that because I know a few people that are that way. If, on the other hand, this game might be for you, if you do like that ability that there's not really any downtime between turns, and you like the nature of I'm making my cards play against each other and play off of each other to build out an engine to be able to make something work, then again, I think this game might be for you. Yeah, okay, with that, I think I've said my piece. I do have a good time playing the game. I hope that you have a chance to play it if you haven't. Keep playing games. I hope you have fun. And I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.